Did you know that only 30% of people regularly practice self-care? And one of the most important things you can do is to make consistent choices that improve your mind, your body, and your soul. So in today's video, I want to kind of go over 3 key components to your self-care. And those 3 topics are prioritizing your physical health, prioritizing your mental and emotional wellness, and disconnecting to reconnect. So number 1, prioritizing your physical health. Obviously, I don't have to really go over too much detail on this topic specifically. I think it's pretty self-explanatory, but I want to discuss 3 key components to prioritizing your physical health. And obviously, the number 1 thing I want to discuss with you is exercise. Exercise is proven scientifically to boost your mood, enhance your overall well-being, reduce your stress, and there's no specific thing that you can't do that will really help improve those things. So you can, whatever it is that you enjoy to do, whether it's walking, playing basketball, there's a lot of other sports, tennis, there's a lot of things you can do, swimming. Obviously, I love resistance training. It's something that I use daily to, improve my overall mood and obviously enhancing my physical health and prioritizing my physical health. So it doesn't really matter what you do. You just got to do something. Moving your body is going to be so important to your overall well-being in life. The second topic I want to discuss with you in the topic of discussing physical health is your sleep. Sleep is very important, and I'll be honest with you, it's something that I definitely didn't prioritize for a large part of my life. I always just kind of chalked it up as like, well, I'm just not a good sleeper, or I have struggled sleeping because my mind's constantly racing. And, that may be somewhat true. I'm always thinking about something, but you got to do things that kind of help calm yourself down. So there's a lot of things you can do. I think they say 7 to 9 hours is kind of like the guideline for, I don't know what the age groups are, but 7 to 9 hours is kind of your ideal timeline. I just want to mention, depending on what area of life you're in, there's going to be a season that you're in where you're not going to get a whole lot of sleep. For instance, we just had a child not too long ago. She's almost a year old. And obviously within that first, 3 to 4 months, somewhere along there, you're not going to be sleeping a whole lot. I'll just tell you that right now. You're going to go 30-minute increments where you got to get up, feed your kid. And, if you've got a spouse that is willing to obviously work with you and try to make it work to the best of your ability for both of you, obviously you're going to take turns and stuff like that. Obviously, when you're pursuing your goals and you got super high ambitions for yourself, if you're sleeping 9 hours a day, you're just missing a whole lot of opportunity to pursue that to your fullest extent. So, definitely not advocating to go sleep 4 to 5 hours for the rest of your life. Obviously, you'll end up, potentially throwing off your equilibrium for quite some time. And it's very easy to do that, especially for me, super addicted to certain things, especially things like video games in the past. And I could spend 24 hours straight doing nothing but that. And if you try to get up the next day, or you don't go to sleep that day and you're trying to go to work and you're just feeling like a mind zombie where you just don't know what the heck's going on. So prioritizing your sleep, there's a bunch of things you can do. I've utilized things like Relate Wellness's sleep gummies, card on the top right-hand corner. I kind of highlight some of the key products that they had sent me that I can test and kind of use on myself and see how they affect. And the sleep ones were pretty effective. There's like a low dose melatonin in there, and there's some L-theanine, some magnesium, stuff like that. So there's like sleepy time teas where I've utilized that, and it's helped me kind of just push my mind into that lower frequency so I can really just don't have to think about trying to close my eyes and go to sleep. It just kind of just happens naturally. So thankfully now I'm in that routine where it's like I do either a sleepy time tea or I toss in a gummy every once in a while, or I'm constantly from 4:30, 5 o'clock, with my daughter till about 10, 11, 12 o'clock in the morning, just constantly nonstop doing things, pursuing, working, stuff like that. So I find that for me, I'm pushing myself to the limit. And by the time I go to sleep or I go to lay down, there's just nothing left to do but my mind to go to sleep, because it's almost to the point where you can't really use it. You know what I'm saying? You really feel like, I don't feel like a zombie, but it's like I can't even think about anything. So I need to default and just go to sleep. So try those things out. I think they'll be very helpful. And the last topic on this I want to discuss is nutrition. You can't really talk about exercise without talking about nutrition and prioritizing your physical health. So listen, guys, it's pretty straightforward. Just eat a well-balanced diet. Get some lean ground beef, get some chicken, get some steak, lean cuts of meat. Eat some vegetables, ditch the fatty cakes. Get away from the high sugar content foods, get away from processed foods, eat whole foods, and you'll feel yourself just slowly get into a much better rhythm in terms of how you feel. And when you're prioritizing your sleep and you're prioritizing exercise and your nutrition, you'll get that full circle and you'll feel extremely great. And you'll feel like, I don't ever want to go back to doing whatever it is you were doing before you started prioritizing your physical health. All right, the next topic I want to discuss is prioritizing your mental and emotional wellness. And this is something that I feel like is definitely undervalued because now more than ever, mental health is at the forefront of society. And, I would definitely be inclined to say that we have a mental health crisis. A lot of things that are going on, but I'm not going to discuss in this video. I'm sure some of you guys, feel it out there, but prioritizing your mental and emotional wellness can be very important. I want to talk about 3 key things in regards to this topic. And first one I will discuss with you guys is mindfulness and meditation. So I think when you hear that, some people think like maybe like Zen type stuff. You're sitting in one place for 20 minutes and you feel like, I could never do that. There's so many different things that you can do. Yoga, okay, that is probably the best thing that you can do for mindfulness and as a form of meditation. And I would just venture to say that there's a lot of things out there, hobbies that even, have some sort of meditative qualities to it. For me, it's like exercise, resistance training, stretching, things like that, sitting in the sauna, reading a book, learning and stuff like that. It puts me in a sort of meditative state or a flow state, if you will, very calming to me and my mind. So there's so many different things that you can do, and I would just explore as many of those as you possibly can and figure out 1 or 2 things that really make a difference and then stick with that. The second topic I want to discuss on the topic of mental and emotional wellness is obviously journaling. This is something I've talked about in detail in many videos, and it's something I'll continue to talk about because it's very important. Now, you can take that with you. I definitely have something in my backpack that I take with me for my workday, obviously 8 hours there. I also have an app on my phone that tracks like my ideas or thoughts. So whenever something pops in my head and I can't just physically write it down from a journaling standpoint, I put it in my phone. And then when I get to my desk here at nighttime, when my wife and daughter go to sleep, I can put it on paper and really kind of dwell on that and think about it, swirl around and continue to elaborate on those ideas and just really internalize it and figure out, okay, why did I think this? Or why did I think that? Why am I writing it this way? Kind of just find new perspective on things. And I find that it's very therapeutic for me because for me, as I discussed before, my mind is constantly going in 1,000 different directions. And I've definitely developed some tools over my lifetime that really can help bring it back to center and focus on what I need to focus on. But journaling is going to be something that is extremely important, and utilizing that to your advantage to make sure that you are prioritizing your mental and emotional wellness. And the third topic I want to discuss with you guys is setting boundaries. Setting boundaries in this way. It's okay to say no. If there is something that you're being asked to do that you personally feel like is draining for you, enough that it's hard, but it's just something that you just don't feel like you have the capacity to do because you feel like it might push you over the edge in terms of damaging your mental and emotional wellness. You got to be resilient. So there are going to be some things, obviously, if it's an easy ask, and I think perspective is everything. You may think you're overly stressed, but emotions are very powerful, and our mind can just tell us that we're maybe more drained than we potentially are. So you really have to balance your mindset and really, think about where you're at. But on that topic of setting boundaries, it's okay to say no. You don't have to say yes to everything, because if you say yes and then you go to do that project and you give it 50%, you give it 40%, you're not only making yourself look bad, but, you're maybe potentially losing the trust of whatever person that either gives you that task that you said yes to, or whatever the case is. It is just very simple. Say no to the things that you feel like might be draining of your emotional and mental wellness. All right. And last but not least, disconnecting to reconnect. So this one is definitely something that has been, blown up over the last, 10 years in social media, contributing a lot to this. 3 topics of discussing disconnecting to reconnect. Digital detox. Obviously, this sort of relates to just digital things in nature, electronics, phones, computers, whatever the case is. It's okay to kind of set that aside. And there's a nice feature on these phones, these smartphones now, where you can kind of see how much time you're devoting to certain things. So maybe it's your social media usage, maybe it's certain apps, maybe it's games on your phone, which, listen, I've had a hard time with in my lifetime, video games and all aspects, from phone to PC to Xbox, you name it. It's been tough for me. So digital detox is going to be very important, and it contributes to a lot of other these areas, especially your mental wellness and emotional wellness. So prioritize digital detox if you have to. Start with 30 minutes to an hour there, and utilize that time to devote to something like more time with your family, more time with your kids, more time with your mother and father, whatever the case is. Put more times into these different self-care methods that really is going to contribute to your overall well-being. And on this topic of disconnecting and reconnect, the second one I kind of want to discuss with you guys is hobbies and creativity. So kind of touched on that a little bit from a digital detox, using that time to put towards your hobbies and being more creative. Your hobbies, I mean, it could be anything. You know, I love to use walking as like a hobby, but also as like a way to kind of just help my mental and emotional wellness. So all these things kind of come full circle in self-care. And hobbies can be anything. As I mentioned, it can be whatever, walking, exercising, it can be reading, it can be drawing, it can be painting, whatever it is, the thing that brings you a lot of joy, a lot of calm. It can kind of help, you know, produce a positive image and self-care routine for yourself. You know, devote a lot of time to that. And as long as it doesn't like take away from some of the more important aspects of your life, but there's definitely, you got to have hobbies and you got to contribute to your creativity. And I think some of these things are really helpful in that. And the third topic kind of in this little niche here is time with your loved ones. So again, kind of just compounding these ideas on the topic of disconnecting to reconnect. You know, as I mentioned, time with your family, time with your loved ones can be very important. Your friends, having meaningful conversations about life, about how things are going at work, with the family, with your kids. You know, it's definitely a shared experience, and, you know, all these things tie together to really make life much more meaningful. So you want to devote more time to that if you possibly can. It'll reduce your stress, improve your mood, and just be overall good for your mental, emotional wellness, and all things. All right, I hope you guys take these tips to heart and really put them into action, as I think it'll definitely take your self-care routines to the next level. From a changing habits perspective, I think it really contributes to this self-care topic that we discussed today. So if you want to watch that video, go ahead and click on this one, and we'll see you in the next one.